That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back, yes! Episode 270, the first episode in Season 7 of MinneZona Sports Live. Let's get it. Yes! Let's all around. Why the heck not? It's crazy. 270? We're 30 episodes away from 300? I thought we just did 200. Oh, my goodness.
Right?
That's crazy. Without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., 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 and all the way in St. Cloud at Granite City Studios, Paul Vold. Shield. What's going on there, Shield?
Dude, I cannot believe we are in the position right now that we are in the world because we are just a couple of weeks away from our annual Super Bowl special, and this time around, Warriors come out to play. Warriors come out to play.
You're barefoot,
we'll have
right?
ourselves the Patriots in the Super Bowl. That's crazy.
Yeah.
We are so far ahead of schedule right now. It's ridiculous, and I love it.
Way ahead of schedule, that's for sure. And you can say for that for the other team as well, to be quite honest.
Don't worry, I got the bottles off my fingers. We're good.
All right, good. I was hoping they wouldn't get stuck or anything like that.
That'd be awkward.
Yeah. That wouldn't be good, especially if you got to use your computer there. But, yes, we'll be talking about that tonight with ARA. There's been a lot of news as of late. And before we get into that, too, I forgot to mention, thank you to everybody who watched the show last week, our 6-year anniversary show. Claps out to you. We are very grateful for all the love and support that you guys have thrown our way. We've got Season 7. We're going to be doing some, some things that we've been doing for a while, some things we might try out. And I think there's no better way to start off season or this, episode and the season with talking about our Minnesota sports teams. There has been a lot of talk, especially around the Minnesota Wild. There has been talks about the Wild possibly dealing the Great Wall of St. Paul already. What's going on here?
Yeah.
And losing Brodeen for the year, if I'm not mistaken, as well. That sucks in itself. We'll talk about that. The next thing is those Minnesota Twins. They've been making deals. It's just we don't know who any of these guys are. But crazy enough, spring training's actually coming up here.
Good
in a couple
God.
of weeks, which is crazy.
That's crazy.
In itself, apparently Tom Pollett has gone the extra mile in calling season ticket holders why they canceled their season tickets. We'll get into that too, so be prepared. Tonight we're doing Callahan School of Logic. Look, there's been a lot of people on the social medias as of late on Twitter and or Facebook or wherever you're comfortable with talking at about Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks made it to the Super Bowl after defeating the Rams. People are dubbing the Vikings as this was a mistake. This wasn't. They screwed up. They couldn't do it. They should have kept him. They should have done this. I'm going to address all of that and explain my thoughts on it because it needs to be addressed here, ladies and gentlemen. And I have an opinion on it. If you have a different opinion on it, let us know. I'd be curious to know your thoughts too. But that's what we got for School of Logic tonight. The big news out of the Hall of Fame. Bill Belichick, not a first ballot Hall of Famer, apparently. A lot to be said about that. We'll discuss later on. The Patriots Seahawks, another Super Bowl. Patriots and Seahawks.
Yes,
Last
sir.
one was really good. This one has the potential to be as well. So we will talk about Super Bowl 60 and those teams. More NFL coaching hires. The spots are filling up now. I think there's only 2 left, if I'm not mistaken, Voldy.
Correct. Yeah.
We'll have to take a look at who's in, who's still in the mix, and all that stuff. Big news out of today: Giannis and the Bucks are trying to work out a deal for him to get out of Milwaukee. The Wolves are a part of those.
They're in the mix. They're in the mix.
Just saying. We'll talk about that, though. I'm excited to talk about this.
Question.
But brookskoepka and Patrick Reed to return to the PGA from Live Well. With their tails tucked between their legs. We'll talk about that as well. So we got to get going on Hot Take. These are ready. They're in the oven. Let's take them out. It's time for some Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, it's hot, it's fresh, it's right out of the oven. Tater Tot Hot Take. Our first hot take tonight is the Minnesota Wild. As you can see, I'm wearing the Parisi. Shout out to Zach Parisi as well. Wearing the awesome jersey that I've had for a while. I really like this jersey, to say the least. But a lot of talk surrounding the Minnesota Wild. The trade deadline is approaching, Voldy, but it's not as soon as you think, but it's going to, it'll ramp up here. The talks are ramping up. March 6th is the trade deadline. The Wild are trying to pursue a top 6 forward or a more likely a center, possibly a winger. There's a smattering of things. Shout out to our guy Danny Hofel again. He asked the question as well after us answering from last week. He's wondering, the Great Wall of St. Paul. Are we going to be dealing him already? Is this something that we're a fan of? Is it something we're not a fan of, Voldy? It sounds like Danny wants this to happen, which I can respect and whatnot. But do you think Billy G is going to deal Wallstedt? What do you got?
I think we're at a point here, especially with Bill Guerin as the GM, that something's got to happen in order to make a move past the first round in the playoffs. And I think the last few years, it's been a lot of, all right, let's see what we've got to work with, get a little bit of development, see what pieces we have, and go from there. Now it's all bets are off. We're in an Olympic year. We're in a big-time contract year as well for the Wild. Of course, they locked up Kirill at the start of the season. We've got a few guys that could be on their way out, and some really strong goaltending right now that could definitely be a difference maker on this team or somewhere else that could be beneficial. I feel that making a move could definitely say that the Wild are definitely in it for sure, that they're not just going to stand by anymore and just win with what they've got. They want to be able to make not only past the first round, but they want to make a deep playoff run, much like what they did, now 10 plus years ago at this point, to where they were definitely, a team that was going to be highly considered for many years, hopefully. But unfortunately, it didn't go that way under the Parisi Suter era too. But I think definitely some moves need to be made, or at least a move that could be significant. Now, trading a goaltender is a very touchy subject. Do you want to trade Wallstedt, who is definitely the hotter hand between the two, or do you want to trade an equally good goaltender that maybe has just, lost the net, that being in Philip Gustafsson? Between the two goaltenders right now, I would trade Gustafsson over the likes of Wallstedt, but know right now that the contract situation is definitely something to make note of. I know he
Yeah.
just signed that 5-year, $34 million contract. You're gonna have to eat that, but I think with Gustafson, he's definitely a strong enough goaltender in net. I mean, we saw it the last year plus, but now you've got this really hot prospect, and you could get a very serious return if you do trade Wallstedt for sure.
Well, at one point, I think it was November-ish, the Wild, I mean, the thought of even trading the guy was probably absurd, since we're using that for this show. His save percentage in November was about 96%. That was first among all the goalies in that month. I dipped a little bit in December, still solid, 91%. But January, it's about 85. It's steadily going down. Now, is this the perfect time to pull the trigger and say, maybe we just, put him, trade him, get something for him in order to fill that need that the Wild have been asking for a while? I know Danny mentioned that the center position is something that they probably would target here, but I didn't think I wasn't thinking of Gustafson like you were just Voldy about. Maybe even just dealing him and going with Wallstedt. But the question is, would he be ready for that role? As number one and consistently play well.
Right.
I'm reading the article that was talking about this, and it's interesting. You'll find this interesting too, and the zoners I think will too. Apparently, Marc-Andre Fleury, the Flower, there's a possibility he could unretire.
Please, no,
and join the
stop.
Wild.
Stop it.
Listen. This is what they're saying. I don't know if
right,
this will
exactly,
happen,
and it should not be happening in the first place.
He says he's remained close to the organization in an off-ice role. No surprise there. He's already agreed to suit up and practice when the Wild, the non-Olympians, resume practice in mid-February. I'm just throwing. This is what they're saying. I'm just throwing out what they're saying.
I know.
I mean, I wouldn't be. I don't know. I wouldn't be so against it, but I feel like, who do we have after Gustafson and Wallstedt? Like, you have to bring up somebody from the Iowa Wild, right?
Right. Correct.
So,
yes. And another thing to consider too, and I was just looking at it here at the contract situation, Gustafson's still under that 5-year deal that right now, but with Wallstedt, you only have team control of him for this season and next season. So after next season, he's a restricted free agent, which, you could get a very solid return. He's only making $2.2 million this season and next season as well. So if you could, you definitely want to sell when the stock is as high as it can be with Wallstedt right now and get a very solid return with a top 6 forward, maybe a couple of prospects or maybe a couple of draft picks, maybe another forward in the mix. I know the Wild are hurt a defenseman right now, so maybe you throw in, a bottom pair defenseman in the mix there too. But I think, there's definitely something worth considering. But for the other goaltending situation too, it's definitely something to look at here with the Wild for sure. Just looking at what the goaltending would be beyond those two, I think, you definitely have to call somebody up from the Iowa Wild. I mean, you're probably looking at, there's a few different options. There's a few guys down there, but right now, nobody really stands out. That would be the for sure number one guy that get called up right away. I think Cal Peterson might be that guy, just based off of, he's 31.
He's been up before, hasn't he?
He's been up a few times. I want to say that just with what they have at injuries and all of that. But Cal Peterson would most likely be the backup in that situation.
Okay. So if they did make that transition, the thing is, do you have that or Peterson or whoever in the Iowa Wild that would be ready to take on that second role because he can't play Gustafson all those nights? This is this is a situation where, Billy G's got and he's doing his research and, making sure like, hey, we don't want to come up in a situation where we're getting fleeced, per se, and kind of take it from there. But, yeah, if it were me, I'd probably say I'd go with them trading Wallstedt instead of Gustafsson, especially with the contract situation. But that's just me. Jonas Brodin, unfortunately, is lost for the season. He won't be playing for Sweden this go-around in the Olympics. Do you see Billy G making another move or making a move to add a defenseman, or what do you think on that, Volty?
No, I think you definitely look at what you have right now. I mean, obviously you lose Brodin for the season. I know that they're definitely hurt and a little bit thinner on that defensive line right now. And of the guys that they do have, of course, you do have Quinn Hughes, who was the big, who's been the trade piece so far this season, not only for the Wild, but for the whole league as a whole. And beyond that, you lose Brodin. You still have Jared Spurgeon. You've got Brock Faber. But after those three guys, I mean, it's been an odd mix. Urasek, I mean, you've got a few other guys that have kind of been in and out of the lineup. But I feel like you definitely need to add another top four defenseman in that unit for sure, especially losing Brodin for the season and maybe even the start of next season as well, just to kind of offset, that somebody that can maybe be that stay-at-home defenseman. I know Bogosian has been out with injury too, so that's been a big hurt this season just from a veteran standpoint. A veteran defenseman would benefit greatly here for the Wild, and I think Billy G definitely needs to make that with that top six forward and a top four defenseman, or maybe even a bottom four defenseman. Just get like a real glue guy, maybe a solid top six defenseman, a glue guy, a veteran for sure. You definitely need to bring that to the Wild here on the blue line for sure.
Dustin Byfuglien, let's make it happen, right?
Oh God, he was skating the other night at Hockey Day, Minnesota, and let's just say Byfuglien's been enjoying retirement for sure.
If
doing a lot more. He's like a pro fisherman now, so yeah, he's out there getting after it, ripping lips out there.
Cool.
Yeah,
like B-Rob, our guy Brian Robinson,
exactly.
Former Minnesota Vikings. So catch him. That's the main thing. All right, but we'll keep an eye on the Wild situation here as the weeks go on here, and we'll just hope for the best, see what happens. All right, our next hot take tonight is the Minnesota Twins. No, I'm not going on a rant about the Boaz or anything like that. That's not what I'm going to do here tonight. What I'm going to do here tonight is assess their situation right now. A couple of big news before we get to the Tom Polak deal. They want to add more players to the bullpen. I mean, they completely obliterated the bullpen this past year by trading all those guys. And they're trying to get some guys to, reinforce their bullpen. And the thing is that they really haven't done anything, to be quite honest. Why would I even say it's a big deal? Because it's not. The Twins traded Julian and another guy for a minor league pitcher who just got off of Tommy John surgery. So we got that for us. Don't know who this guy is. Apparently, he is. He was playing for the Rockies, so that's great. Oh boy, we're doing awesome things. Jace Kaminska that we got in return. So I don't know how or what the Twins are doing with this. If they think he's ready to go, have they talked to anybody per se? I doubt it, to be quite honest. But it's going to be a situation where the Twins are probably going to add somebody late minute, at the last minute, and it's just going to get to a point where they're just gonna have to scramble and add some guys. So, they made that trade today. Julian, for lack of a better term, these past 2 seasons haven't been great. They were hoping he would be kind of the future here, but it turned out not to be so. I look at what they've done so far, and, you know, you got to give it an F. You have to give it an F. This team just refuses to spend the money they're supposed to. And these deals aren't doing much. The Josh Bell signing was okay, and, you know, everything like that. But Voldy, real quick, what do you think of what the Twins have done this offseason so far? I mean, would you give that the same grade too?
I mean, I would definitely take it a non-passing grade for them. I mean, the only really good thing that they did was get that 1-year deal done with Joe Ryan, $6.2 million, you know, obviously arbitration and everything. So that obviously worked in his favor, but nothing really positive out of just getting rid of some pieces that maybe were past their prime. I mean, they signed Taylor Rogers. He's back, got catcher Victor Caratini from, I think he was in Cincinnati most recently as well, but then just a couple of prospects. Edouard Julien is now in Colorado. I mean, if he learned how to hit a baseball again, hey, that's great to see. But yeah, nothing really eye-popping for the Twins this offseason of moves to be made. And I'm very underwhelmed by what action has been done by them. So yeah, I'm going to at least give it, if not an F, very, very low D for sure.
I think that's a fair assessment because,
yeah,
look, you know, they've been doing Twins Fest. They've been trying to get people involved, and from what I've been hearing, the people showing up for Twins Fest hasn't been good. But I think a lot of the concern is always going to be there. It's always going to be a situation where they're not going to win a lot this year. This team is going to struggle, and it's going to struggle mightily. And I know Shelty was on with Jim Rich on Fox 9 or something like that, and he was he was talking with him about, like, what can fans expect from this team this year? Oh, we're going to be a lot of fun, and, you know, and whatnot. It's like, I mean, let's be completely honest here. It's not going to be like that. It's gonna be rough. You're gonna have uninterested people going to the ballpark, and they're going to, you know, they're going to suffer mightily from this. And the one thing that I think what they're trying to do is trying to bring back people who stopped putting out their season tickets. But here's one thing that the Pohlads have finally done, which they've never done in their ownership. They actually called those people that canceled their season tickets. Voldy, I'm going to read this out, and this is just too good, to be quite honest. When I read this, I was literally dying. They end up, you know, him talking that he called people didn't believe it was Tom Pohlad, and there's a guy that hung up on him like 3 times or something like that, because there's no way. He sent a text saying, no, this is really Tom Pohlad, like I want to talk to you about why you know cancel your season tickets. He finally said, okay, let's just say when he sent that text, this is what Pohlad said. He said, let's say the response wasn't necessarily kind back, but hopefully the effort counts for something. Pohlad said this weekend at Target Field, where they had the fan festival and whatnot. But I think one of those things that he said was, you know, I'm not going to be spending any money towards this team until you guys start actually adding some quality talent to this roster.
Yeah,
and,
seriously.
You know, I'm going to say this. It took a lot for him to actually do something because none of them did that. Joe Pohlad, are you kidding me? That guy wouldn't even show up for any really fan interaction stuff. Like, I still don't believe in them. I get that part of it. But Voldy, what do you make of this situation? Tom Pohlad actually putting in some effort and trying to talk to fans like what their frustrations are. What do you think?
I mean, of all the poll ads I thought that were going to be doing this sort of measure, just sinking themselves lower and lower, just try to get people to come back to the ballpark. Joe Pohlad was definitely on the very bottom of the list for sure. I mean, maybe seeing, Carl Pohlad, God rest his soul, back in the day, maybe do something like this, but any others, I definitely would have said, no, this is definitely not going to happen. They wouldn't stoop so low just based off of, what they've done to, better the franchise and enrich any chance of being a successful ball club as a whole. But I mean, the effort is there. It's just sad to see that now that we have to, have to see and hear about this. And now Twins fans finally get a chance to, air out some grievances and go straight to the top, basically, as opposed to doing it on social media or, even going to the ballpark and, yelling, sell the team and everything. But now at least you can go right to the head of the snake and maybe, get some answers straight out of it. And then, I'm just glad to see that finally some people are listening as opposed to, well, we're saying stuff and then nothing's happening out of it.
Well, if you look at what they've done, too, this offseason already, nothing. I mean, It's twiddling your thumbs and everything like that. He's saying these things, and he's not following up, and he's not exactly saying, like, oh, hey, we're going to spend money and this and that and this and that. Right. You just made a trade today that tells me that you're kind of just throwing getting guys that are kind of damaged goods. I mean, it's no offense to the guy coming in, but it's true. It's Tommy John surgery. No one's really been the same from a Tommy John surgery. Ask Francisco Liriano. I believe that he was never the same after that. A number of pitchers I feel like haven't been the same after having Tommy John. But the one thing that I look at and say, okay, I'll give you credit for going out and talking to people, but you know what? It depends on how you approach this, because I would ask, and you know what? I'm gonna put this out there, Voldy. Who knows? Who knows this might happen? Mm-hmm. I am inviting Tom Pohlad to give me a call. Ooh. Give me a call. Because I would take his call. But to be quite honest, I'm not, if it's just word salad and everything like that, I want him to answer a bunch of questions that I have on what they're doing differently this time around. Because to me, it seems like it's the same old stuff. And he clearly hasn't really put out anything right now that says, okay, I see they're trying. I am giving Tom Pohlad, I will give you my number. You can DM me, you can send me a text, you find my number or anything like that. Give me a call. I'll talk to you. I won't, if I don't like what you're saying, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you straight to your face. I guess technically not. On the phone. I'll tell you directly. So he needs to answer those questions, and if he doesn't answer those, the way that we're expecting, then I'm going to call him out on it. So that's how I look at it. So the Twins, I don't know, maybe they're in the process of making a deal. The Joe Ryan, you mentioned that too. Joe Ryan coming back and them not having to go through arbitration says, okay, finally, you guys aren't going to fight this really good pitcher that you need all the help you can get right now. You have Pablo Lopez, you have Joe Ryan, you have two good starting pitchers that you can have starting pitching. You have Buck, you have Lewis, if they stay healthy, knock on wood. Add more to this roster. I'm just, we've called you guys clowns. We've put you in the Hall of Shame and everything like that. Just do something that is outside the box, that is out of your norm. I don't think they're going to do that, but we'll see what happens. One last thing. I know Taylor Rogers is back, like we, talked about and whatnot.
Yep.
Getting guys that were good years ago and thinking they're going to do the same thing again.
We'll see.
Probably not ideal, but like we said.
Not ideal, bud.
Voldy, one last thing. Do you think that they'll make maybe somewhat of a middle-of-the-road, like, significant move that Twins fans could be like, okay, that's pretty good. That's not bad. Do you think they'll make that kind of deal, or do you think it's done? Like, this is the team.
I don't know if they will or not, but I would like to see it. I know a lot of people would like to see it. Maybe with this change of leadership from the Pollad, who knows at this point? You still got the same GM. You've got a new manager. You've got a new guy leading the charge, basically, that's pulling the purse strings, basically. Whether or not he lets go of the purse strings, that's a different story altogether. But I don't know. I'm going to say no just from personal experience, but I would like to be proven wrong on this subject for sure.
And like I said before, I will not step foot in that ballpark until they either sell the team or they convince me that this team is going to be better and do some damage, hopefully in the playoffs. So, all right, that's going to do it for Hot Take tonight. We have a lot to discuss here tonight in regards to Sam Darnold. Our former guy. He was with the Minnesota Vikings last year. Unfortunately, he left in free agency to the Seattle Seahawks, and guess what? He's brought him to the Super Bowl. There's been a lot of people that have talked about Sam Darnold, the Vikings screwed up. They didn't do a good job at trying to retain him. They should have kept him. We should have done this, and that. Look, I'm here to discuss my thoughts on it. If you guys have opinions on this subject and want to give your thoughts on it, please go ahead. And I'm not going to sit here and say, you're wrong. This is just my opinion, and this is how I'm going to address it. So get your pens, get your pencils, get your notebooks and everything like that. It's time for Callahan's School of Logic.
Class is in session. You're enrolled in Callahan's School of Logic.
All right, it is time for Callahan's School of Logic. Like I said, it's all about Sammy Darnold. Sam Darnold did a heck of a job this past weekend. I said on the show a couple of times, I said the week before that it was the biggest game of Sam Darnold's career. But let's be honest, the Niners were pretty beat up. And Sam didn't have to do much, not trying to discredit him or anything like that. That is not what I'm doing. What I'm saying is that the game that I felt like this was going to be the biggest of his career was the NFC Championship game. And he passed it with flying colors. He was the reason why I feel like they won. And he was the guy that led them to victory and going to the Super Bowl. And I believe they are favored, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll discuss more of that here in ARA. We all know the social media has been buzzing in regards to Sammy D, a.k.a. BDD, and Voley knows this. If you know, you know. Yeah. There's been a lot of opinions, like I said. See, the Vikings should have kept him. The Vikings effed up. The Vikings let him walk. Let's settle down. Let's just settle down. Let's think about this logically, because this is the School of Logic. Let's wind the clocks back to 2024. We're in the off season. The Vikings are kind of still batting around the idea of bringing back Kirk Cousins. Atlanta swoops in, kind of derails that conversation. So, Vikings really don't have a quarterback. I mean, you got Nick Mullins, and that's about it with that. So, the talk was to add a veteran quarterback to this team, and that was being Sam Darnold. And let's not forget, there were a lot of people that were bashing that move. And they thought that this was a stupid idea, and we don't know what quarterback they're going to take in the draft and everything like that. And you know who you are. You know, some people, you know who you are. You're the ones that, it was dumb, we shouldn't have done that and everything like that. It was 1 year, $10 million. That's not too steep for the Vikings. You're not paying all that money like you did Kirk. So they wanted to bring in a veteran presence. Darnold learning under the Shanahan offense, learning behind Brock Purdy a little bit because his previous 2 stints, I mean, wasn't great, but the organizational structure of both teams wasn't good as well, the coaching especially. So the Vikings sign him 1 year, $10 million, with the intent to draft the future, right? So that makes sense. Okay. Seems pretty sound. Fast forward from the draft, they draft J.J. McCarthy. Quarterback battle. It sounds like J.J. is actually, doing a lot better than Sam Darnold in training camp. But then J.J. McCarthy gets hurt. He lost for the season, torn meniscus, the whole deal. So Darnold steps in, like we all know, and he wins 14 games. Nobody saw that coming. Not even myself, not even Voldy, not even the Zoners, I would imagine, and or Vikings fans, too. I mean, it was almost unheard of, which, puts the Vikings in a tough position. Like, we got JJ sitting here, and then we got Sam Darnold playing really well. They win 14 games and everything like that. They were put in a tough position, but they're not thinking ahead on that. They're just focusing on the season. Well, it put them in a tough position until the last game, the last 2 games of the season. The Vikings had the chance to win the division, number 1 seed, in the playoffs. They're pretty well set with that. They just got to get through the Lions, right? The Lions, at the time, banged up defense. They got like maybe 2 or 3 guys back, and the Vikings pretty much, I would say, at full strength. Darnold coming off a pretty good game the week before against the Packers, and taking on the Lions for the division and number 1 seed. Now let's talk about that game. Sam Darnold in that moment with the division on the line, number 1 seed, folded badly. 18 of 41, 166 yards, and sacked only twice. So, the offensive line gave him time. He didn't make good decisions. His throws were off by a lot. Most of those to Justin Jefferson. And the Vikings were causing turnovers. The Flores defense was getting interceptions. They almost had that safety as well. I mean, they picked off Goff twice. And the Vikings had a really good field position. And guess what? They only came away with 3 points. 3 points on most of those drives. He missed Jefferson in the end zone. I can't tell you how many times. Addison as well. Cam Akers had a big run. They literally could not score a touchdown. We missed a field goal there, but things just weren't going well. It was snowballing. The Vikings weren't going to do much on this. But this is a big moment. This was a big moment for Sam Darnold to really shine, and he didn't in that game. So you think, okay, well, let's move on to the next game against the Rams. Unforeseen circumstances in regards to you're not playing in LA, but you're playing in Arizona due to the LA wildfires that were happening during that time. So you're at a neutral site. This isn't anything that, that you're not too much accustomed to. Like, this is, you've played in Arizona's place before. I mean, it's not a big deal, right? Well, it didn't go well, to say the least. We all know that. Sam Darnold, 25 of 40, 245 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, fumble lost. And he was sacked 9 times. Now, I'm going to say what a lot of people in this town and some national media, I might add, have said, is that it's not fully on Sam Darnold, but he is still a part of that. He definitely was a part of those decisions. Now, let's not forget that he held on to the ball way too long. And the line at times was giving him time. He threw that bad interception over to Addison, and he looked so just deer in the headlights. It was deer in the headlights look. He got absolutely annihilated. He lost that fumble, and I think Jared Verse took it the distance. And, if you're going to blame that loss, you have to blame it on the offensive line and Sam Darnold. I'm sorry, you have to in that situation. Those 2 games, he was not good. And it made the decision a lot easier for the Minnesota Vikings. I think you and I were on the same page, Voldy, about this, and that I think it's best to let him go and, see what you got with J.J. McCarthy, but maybe add some insurance backing up J.J. McCarthy. If they wanted him, because I think they did, they offered him a contract. They said, look, we'll give you a 1-year deal, kind of like a prove it, and, you can show us, like, hey, those 2 games were just one of those situations where, he was a little scared or whatever. I don't know exactly what it was, but this was a deal that wouldn't, handcuff the Vikings about trying to get guys, because they desperately needed to upgrade the offensive line. They got exposed big time. You have J.J. McCarthy coming back, and we labeled as the future with a solid team in front of him to lead the way. They were going into this free agent period with a bunch of cap space. But that cap space would go down if they were to give Sam Darnold a long-term contract, that being a 3-year deal, which he eventually signed with the Seahawks. They were hoping to give him that 1 more year, let JJ kind of understand the system. But Darnold, I don't think, wanted to have him, looking over his shoulder. He wanted to be like, okay, you're the guy, you're our guy. He didn't want to do that. So the Vikings had that offer, but Seattle swooped in after they traded Geno and said, we're going to go the extra mile. We want you long-term, 3 years, $100 million and $55 million in guarantees. Year 1 for Sam Darnold, $37.5 million. You're not getting the players you'd get in free agency this past year. Now, some of those guys weren't up to par. I'll admit it. They weren't up to par this year. But for people to assume that Sam Darnold was going to be the same guy that he is currently right now, you're kidding yourself. The Vikings wouldn't have a competent O-line or have key defensive pieces. Let's list them off. Eric Wilson, who outplayed Ivan Pace Jr. and was phenomenal in the Flores defense. Byron Murphy Jr., you re-signed him in the offseason, and he comes back. Everyone thought he was gone. You were able to get him. I know you went and got Hargrave. You got Allen and everything like that. Allen, I just felt like didn't really do much of anything, whereas Hargrave, I feel like, was a little bit more productive, but it is still a big cap hit that the Vikings have. that's for another discussion. You want to have the thought process coming off the injury surround J.J. McCarthy with the utmost talent that you can. And that's what they did. You look at Will Fries. He played every single game this season, and he was good. Ryan Kelly, different story, whatever. Donovan Jackson was great. He had that injury for a couple weeks, but he was playing with a broken wrist. I mean, that just shows how much toughness he had. How many different line combinations do the Vikings have this year? Sam Darnold wouldn't be able to operate as well as he is right now. There's no way you can tell me that. That Seahawks offensive line is good. Their team is very, very good. But it's easy to look at it now and say, oh, they made the wrong decision. They made the wrong decision. Look at the Seattle team. Solid run game. Stellar offensive line. Number 1 in total defense. Top-tier wide receivers, and the list goes on. Who would have predicted the Seahawks to be the Super Bowl favorites this year? Nobody. Nobody thought they were going to be that. But I don't want to discredit what he has done because Sam Darnold has been perfect fit for Seattle. And this past Sunday, he silenced the critics, especially me, because I thought, in these big moments from last year, he didn't show up. He showed up in the NFC Championship game, and he silenced a lot of critics. So, with that being said, tip of the cap to Sam Darnold on that. Okay, so the logic in all this, zoners, fans, and everything like that, and all these reasons that I've mentioned, I'm not saying that you shouldn't bash the Vikings for making the decision they made. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is let's let this play out, okay? I'm willing to bet a big chunk of fans would have done the same thing the Vikings did this past offseason. And the funny thing is they tried to bring him back. Stop trying to say that they let him walk. I heard Kevin Burkhardt said, I like Kevin Burkhardt, but he's wrong on this. He said, the Vikings just let him walk. They tried to bring him back. They said, listen, this is what we can do for you, but, we got to spend money to help you and everything like that. He wanted the long-term deal and have a team believe in him that he could be their guy, and he has shown that. Now, there is no way that you can sit back and tell me from what happened last year and say, oh, we got to bring him back. We got to do it. We have to. Absolutely. 95% of you, I bet, 95% of you would have done the same thing Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah did. I'm just saying. So, they had every reason to make it work, but for all the reasons I just mentioned, before it made it easy for the Vikings to move on to Sam Darnold, I'm happy for Sam Darnold, guys. I am. And all the success, And yes, it stings. It does. It stings me too. It sucks that, we're seeing our guy that was here last year and played so well until the last 2 games, and he's taken that team to the Super Bowl. It stings. It does. It stings that it's not the Vikings. But let's stop crying over spilled milk and just let this process play out. You can be happy. I want you guys to be happy for Sam Darnold. I really do. But don't sit back and tell me that the Vikings made the wrong decision at the time. It's easy to say this now, right? It's easy to say this now, but the logic in all this is let's just let this play out. If Sam wins the Super Bowl, all credit to him. He proved everybody wrong. That's just how it is. But like I said, let's stop crying over spilled milk. Make mistakes. Things happen, right? Voldy, what is your assessment on this current Sam Darnold Vikings situation? National media all over it, by the way, too. Forgot to mention that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, just the same sentiments you threw out. I think just the way that Darnold played last season up until those last 2 games as well, that he was going to be the guy that was going to get a big contract, whether it was with the Vikings, whether it was somewhere else. He was going to get big money for sure. And you throw in the fact that the Vikings were ready for the future with JJ McCarthy. And I felt like Darnold was now in a position where like he was definitely a bona fide starter, kind of regained his confidence, wasn't going to be relegated back to being a backup after the year that he had. And he was ready to make that jump for sure. Of course, getting him set up in a new area with Seattle, but also getting maybe a little bit more familiarity with an offensive mind like Clint Kubiak, him being the offensive coordinator with a defensive-minded head coach. I feel like that's another big thing that is really helped out in that sense, where you have a defensive head coach, but an offensive coordinator. He's that guy he can go to. You're not dealing with the situation like Minnesota has, where you have a Wes Phillips as your OC, but Kevin O'Connell is the one calling the plays as the head coach. So really knowing who's going to be the direct line to talk to and being that, and just being set up for success when you have a great defense like Seattle's had this season, and you have some bona fide playmakers for sure on the offensive side with JSN, who stepped up to be the big guy this year. I'm glad to see the success for Sam Darnold, because the journey that he was a first rounder, he was a top first round pick for sure. And then he was, he went to New York, where quarterbacks go to die before their career even starts, then gets relegated to, gets sent to Carolina. Then he ends up in San Francisco. Now he ends up in Minnesota and just rediscovers his playing ability. And now what success he has had going to the NFC Championship game and going to the Super Bowl, it's been well-deserved. I think he has fought through all of that, and he's continued just to keep his head down and continue to work. I don't know how it's going to shape up here in a couple of weeks, but I just am glad to see that he has finally gotten what he has had deserved, and at least being the player that he was, said to be coming out of USC. And I'm just great to see that it's working out for him. And everybody talking about, the Vikings gave up, they just let him go, we should be in the Super Bowl, not Sam Darnold, or we could be in the Super Bowl with Sam Darnold. There are way too many things in this world that had to line up perfectly, including hell freezing over, which pretty much did over the weekend for sure. I know that for a fact, and everybody in the South still trying to dig themselves out with their, 1 to 2 inches of snow that they are just completely beside themselves. I think since the show started, we probably got another 1 to 2 inches of snow. It's not slowing down anybody at all. That's a joke. No, it's not snowing. It's just really cold. But I just think that there are way too many variables, and including hell freezing over, for the Vikings to get to the Super Bowl. The world would implode upon itself, or an asteroid would strike the planet Earth before the Vikings get to a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold. So I'm just glad to see, and people just need to stop and lay off the narrative that, that the Vikings just gave up. There was no way that the Vikings were going to get Sam Darnold without forking over the whole franchise, and there are too many other things that the Vikings needed to address besides a quarterback. And I said it from the very beginning. If JJ McCarthy is a starting quarterback, you need to get him a capable backup, which we did with Carson Wentz. And I don't know what the plan is this offseason to get, if Wentz might come back, if we get another veteran quarterback and roll with, JJ as a starter. Again, we could go on for hours about this, but for right now, good for Sam Darnold. Let's see how it plays out here in Santa Clara. Everybody shut up about the fact that he's no longer a Viking. It's old news. Move on.
Right. And I'll end it with this too. You give him that much money and expect to get the guys that you got, like Fries, like Eric Wilson, like all these other guys. You're not getting those guys. You get Donovan Jackson, so that's a positive. But you don't have anybody else. That interior, you weren't going to roll with Garrett Bradbury. I know that. Mm-hmm. You weren't going to roll with Dalton Reisner. How are you going to come back from it? And especially with Darisaw. Darisaw was like in and out of the lineup all year. And it's like...
Yeah.
We're rushing.
They just kept handling him with kid gloves. I mean, you give him a game and be like, my knee's a little sore. It's like, oh God, take him out of the lineup, get him out of here. It's like, look, he's gonna have to learn. I'm not going to say play through the pain, but it's like, yes, he's coming off significant knee surgery at the tail end of last season. If he isn't 100%, he shouldn't be out on the field to begin with. And the fact that he pushed through and made some significant plays, at that left tackle spot. And, every time it just seemed that when stuff started to, get worse, be like, we're going to keep you out of this game. Where it's like, we're gonna, we're not favored to win. We're not, we're favored to lose by 50 points. Let's get you out of the lineup here. Let's just save you for next week. But come on, just let the kid play. Let the kid play.
So, and there's it's just a lot. RJ says, how does Darnold make positives out of darn and old? Okay. I don't know. That's a great question. I'm not sure. But yeah, look, we can't sit back and just, assume that this was going to be the Vikings if we had them. No, it won't. And I'm telling you, if we'd be at the end of the season, we have the same record right now, you'd be saying, why would they hold on to Sam Darnold? He was so bad, and this and that, this and that, this and that. Look, you got to sit back and actually do the research and look at the current situation. National media does not do that.
No, they don't.
Just saying. All right, that'll do it for Callahan School of Logic. Class is over. We just wanted to discuss that with Darnold. Super Bowl coming up. Looking forward to it. Super Bowl special. Yes, 6 years that we'll be doing the Super Bowl specials. Looking forward to that. Who knows who will show up? Let's look at ARA. Let's see what's to come. We got Bill Belichick, not a first ballot Hall of Famer apparently. We'll talk about that right away. And then Patriots, Seahawks, Super Bowl 60. And you can tell Voldy, well, he's got his New England stuff on after that win in Denver and whatnot. We'll talk about those games a little bit too. More NFL coaches going to teams. The big one today was kind of a head scratcher, but we'll see how that goes. But we'll talk about that. Giannis, the big news that was hitting today just before the show. Giannis and his team are trying to get out of Milwaukee. We're going to try and see if a certain team is in the mix, and it sounds like they are. So we'll talk about that. But brookskoepka, Patrickreed returning to the PGA from Live. Tail tucked between their legs. Just saying. But, without further ado, let's get it going. What's up? Observe or approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
I heard your reaction to this. Not thrilled with it, but he's doing it. It could change by.
It could.
It could. Speaking of
a
a guy in Super Bowls who has won a lot, is this guy. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle him off for us, please?
Well, starting in the world of the National Football League, apparently sources are coming out with the announcement of the class of 2026 for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. One will not include in his first year of eligibility 8-time Super Bowl winning coach Bill Belichick, 6 as head coach for the New England Patriots and 2 as defensive coordinator for the New York Giants. Apparently, word has gotten out that Belichick has fallen short of the 80% needed for induction to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, according to sources with firsthand knowledge that have the knowledge of the outcome that were forwarded over to the national media. Now, apparently a call from Hall representatives was sent to Bill Belichick that he won't be inducted this upcoming summer. Now, very interesting to see that it is only Belichick that has received at least the news of such an effort that has taken place, because normally you don't find out who's going to the Hall of Fame up until the NFL Honors, which is set to take place, I believe, the Thursday before the Super Bowl, I believe February 5th it's going to be this year, as we find out who will be joining those in the halls of Canton, Ohio. Now, word is spread out throughout the league, and many constituents of Belichick have voiced their displeasure. One of the more interesting ones that has come out is Bill Polian, longtime general manager for previously the Indianapolis Colts and, of course, the Buffalo Bills, who did get many matchups against Belichick, saying that he wasn't even sure if he even voted for Bill Belichick or not, but apparently he was told that he, in fact, did vote for Belichick, and past comments saying that Belichick should serve a 1-year penance for his role and everything that led up to Spygate, apparently, as Polian did voice in previous conversations. Now, with everything that has the numbers that speak itself, 8-time Super Bowl champion coach with a coaching record 333 wins, including the playoffs, only second to Don Shula all-time, being a first ballot lock. Apparently not so much. Is it absurd or approved? Is Bill Belichick a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Well, let's just start off with this. Yes, he is a first ballot Hall of Famer. We're going to just start off with that. Let's start off with that. He is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He should have been. But let's discuss a couple things first. Bill Belichick and the NFL haven't seen eye to eye since he's left. There have been, these situations where, Bill was hoping to find a NFL gig. I think he interviewed with the Falcons when they were looking for coach. They ended up getting Raheem Morris, and who funny was fired not too long ago. Sorry, I had to throw that cheap shot. But he didn't get considered, and then the other teams really didn't consider him for the job either. So he kind of was like, middle finger to you guys. I'm going to go somewhere and go to college football, which I think was a big mistake. And then you have the situation with him and Bill Polian. It seems like Bill Polian is really digging himself a hole by saying he doesn't remember if he voted for Belichick to be in the Hall of Fame or not. Look, you can't be so vengeful about that whole thing. Look, the guy was a fantastic coach. He was. I mean, we have to put it, call a spade a spade. And he worked his tail off to keep that Patriots dynasty going, and he did. He did throughout all of those years. Even when they didn't make it, he was still finding ways to get back to the Super Bowl and win Super Bowls. So you have to give credit where credit's due. I mean, the numbers speak for itself. But, Voldy, there's one common denominator to this whole situation, and I think you know where I'm going with this. It's that girlfriend. It's got to be Jordan Hudson. Look, Jordan Hudson, ever since that she came into Bill Belichick's life, she has controlled every aspect of his life.
Yep.
And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, what does that have to do with him not getting the Hall of Fame ballot and everything like that? Is because, let's think about it. There's probably some people in there saying, like, I don't know if I want him in there right away because of all this stuff that's going on. And I'm not saying that is, that is what I was thinking. But this is what they're thinking and how they're interpreting it with this situation. But that shouldn't have to matter. He should be first ballot. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But when Bill Belichick has done something or has, made the transition over to UNC football, it's just been nothing short of controversy. I mean, he went on an interview wearing this just awful sweatshirt, and he won't even answer. She wouldn't let him answer basic questions. Questions with CBS. None whatsoever. So it's like, is Bill Belichick okay? Is he going to be okay? Like, this is ridiculous. So I think the common denominator of all these other things that have been happening, I think some of that fed into their decision. Now, there have been players like Terrell Owens that were, that didn't make it right away or anything like that, and should have been in. They haven't done a great job at some of these. A lot of them, I think they've been accurate on, but the one that I haven't is Jim Marshall. That's a whole different situation for another time.
Mm-hmm.
But let's not forget that Bill Belichick, before all the Jordan Hudson stuff, before he was done in New England, he's a Hall of Fame first ballot coach. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's going to get in at some point here, or probably next year, I would assume. But he should be first ballot. I think it's absurd that they didn't do it, and if it was because of Bill Polian, which I'm sounding like it is, he should be ashamed of himself. I mean, that is such a petty thing to do, and apparently he's catching a lot of flack for that. And Brady even said that that's a joke. He should be, in there as well. But the person I blame is Jordan Hudson. I blame Jordan Hudson for not, for just stop getting involved with this guy's life. He's it's just crazy. So no, to answer your question, Voldy, it's absurd. He should be in the Hall of Fame first ballot. But Jordan Hudson, I blame you. That's your fault. Voldy, what do you got?
Well, another thing I like to take in consideration as well, definitely stamp of approval that Belichick is a first ballot Hall of Famer. And another thing up for consideration is the fact that Robert Kraft is also up for induction after it taking 14 years of campaigning for Robert Kraft to even be considered for induction as part of the I believe contributors to the game of football. I think it might be one of those situations where maybe there's a little bit more positivity towards Robert Kraft than Bill Belichick right now. And of course, Kraft's still heavily involved because of the fact that he is owner of the Patriots and helps run things in that regard, and still on very minutes on a lot of committees of sorts. And of course, the bitterness between Belichick and Kraft ever since they had to part ways, 2 years ago. I think that might have something to do with it too. And there very well could just be the fact that some members of the voting committee, including Bill Polian and Tony Dungy, do not like Bill Belichick at all because they probably feel very slighted because of Spygate, maybe even Deflategate as well, even though they were nothing to do with that, and that they are just, they're just looking for any sort of way to stick it right back to them for stealing Super Bowl rings off their fingers. But at the end of the day, Bill Belichick is a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. And why is it now that we hear something about a guy not making it to the Hall of Fame as opposed to years past? Because I don't remember any other situation where a guy that was up for induction or maybe kind of tilting borderline and saying like, oh no, he's not getting in, or like, yeah, he's definitely getting in, because we don't usually find out who's getting into the Hall of Fame until, like I said, like NFL honors, or it was, of course, the way they used to do it. They get everybody to come down for a Super Bowl weekend. They get the knock on the door at the hotel, and then you find out literally at the coin toss of the Super Bowl who is getting into the Hall of Fame, or something along those lines, like literally day of the Super Bowl and everything. That's when you find out. But yeah, I don't know why we're getting all this information leaked out now. Maybe just another way to stick it to Belichick, I guess, and people are just still kind of petty about it.
Well, and it's just, I mean, that's what I think the thinking is. And you mentioned Dungy and Polian and whatnot. I have a hard time thinking Dungy a little bit, just because, he's Tony Dungy. He's a good guy. But I don't know. It could be. Right. It could be. He still could be peeved about that, in which I think, but that's ridiculous. I mean, he should be first ballot. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But Jordan Hudson, it's your fault. It is. I'm calling you out. It's your fault. So, all right, next one, Voldy.
Well, sticking with, of course, a former Patriots head coach, and also the Super Bowl coming up here in just under 2 weeks. It will pin the Seattle Seahawks against the New England Patriots after a couple of wild contest, to say the least. AFC Championship going down to the very bitter wire, with the New England Patriots outlasting the Denver Broncos in horrendous conditions to win 10-7. Well, on the other side, it was the Seattle Seahawks running away with things in the second half against the Los Angeles Rams to boast a win again against their divisional rival, thus setting up a rematch of a Super Bowl. I believe it was 49. I believe that was. Yes, it was Super Bowl 49 that the Patriots and Seahawks last matched up between those two franchises. But now will be the second go around based off of what we saw in the two performances, the AFC Championship and the AFC Championship, NFC Championship. Now, we're not going to talk about who's going to win because we'll save that for a later date. Hint, hint, wink, wink. But based off of what you saw from the two championship games, the Seattle Seahawks in the NFC Championship game and the Patriots in the AFC Championship game, which game brought you more to the side of said winner? Are you looking at a little bit more? Which way is the pendulum swinging for you as of this current moment? Is it swinging towards Patriots? Is it swinging towards the Seahawks?
Well, basing that off of those two games, I think a lot of what happened in the Denver New England game was the weather, clearly. And both offenses, Jared Stidham wasn't going to get it done. I knew, right? I didn't know right away, because when he had that nice drive with that first touchdown, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens. But let's not discredit the fact that the Patriots after that were rock solid. I mean, 3 and outs here, 3 and outs there. Same thing for the Patriots as well. I mean, they had the same deal. They had a bunch of 3 and outs. They finally got some things going, and they were able to cash in, mostly. A lot of missed field goals, too. Will Lutz didn't have a good, game in regards to that. Drake May getting that first down was pretty cool, and whatnot. But, it's hard to base it off that. But let's look at the Seattle Rams game. The only thing I'd be concerned about with the Seahawks is their defense. I feel like their defense is, it's very good. Don't get me wrong. They're top defense in the NFL. They can get leaky sometimes. I mean, that whole situation with Reek Woolen, I think that's what he's calling himself. Reek.
Yep.
I mean, that was stupid. You idiot.
Yep.
Just go off the field and whatnot, and then he gets burned the next play. But
yes, it does.
You gotta be mindful of that. I mean, they got on each other, or got on him for doing something as stupid as that. And you saw on the sidelines, like, he would have been public enemy number 1 if they lost that game. So you gotta wonder. I think, he learned from his mistake, and they're going to move on from that. So they got to be careful going into this game, because it could cost you. So to answer your question, Voldy, the pendulum is a little bit more on the Seahawks. I would say the Seahawks, just because they showed me, hey, their offense can get it done in the run game. Their offense can get the ball to their playmakers, JSN, Cup, Bobo had a nice catch on that touchdown. Kenneth Walker has been really good too. So shouts out to him as well. But I'm kind of leaning more Seattle here. But I really liked the Patriots defense against the Broncos this past Sunday. So Voldy, what do you got?
Well, let's just talk about something here with the AFC Championship game. I know that we talked about last week on the show for the Patriots, obviously going up against a backup quarterback in Denver against that great defense. And I literally was talking about the matchup between the Patriots offense versus that defense. You don't turn over the football, and you use the run game, and you're gonna put yourself in a pretty good position. Patriots did not put themselves in harm's way by turning over the football. Defense on the other side, very opportunistic with their plays as well. That fumble, that two-hand shovel pass that Stidham threw out there a couple of times, one of which was a backward pass. That one should have been a touchdown. I still don't understand why it was blown dead, but the Patriots did ultimately get a touchdown thanks to Drake May, the only touchdown for them in that contest. Taking advantage, of course, with the misses in the kicking game as well. I know the Patriots had a missed field goal as well at their point, but it was a wing and a prayer right at the, just before halftime or whenever that did take place there with that super long field goal chance up there. But, they've been a very opportunistic team throughout the postseason, and of course on the road, especially 9-0 on the road. First time a team's ever done that during the season on their way to a Super Bowl, and it's been great to see. On the other side, you look at the Seahawks, probably the most complete team that has played throughout the entire season. You've seen a little bit of sputtering on the offense here and there. Guys have gone down. Guys have stepped up through injury. Of course, Kenneth Walker is getting the bulk of the carries now with Zach Charbonnet out for the rest of the season with his injury. Darnold has really tightened things up from the turnovers that he really mounted at probably around the midway point of the season. And the defense just continues to wreak havoc one way or another, whether it be, causing turnovers or pressure or just, overall just stopping the opponent's defense too. But really, you look at how this matchup could potentially be. And again, right now, where we sit as a, completely unbiased sports talk person here right now, my pendulum is swinging towards the Patriots right now. Completely unbiased opinion as of this moment right here, but things can certainly change within the next couple of weeks here leading up to that matchup in Santa Clara for Super Bowl 60.
Like we said, this is not our picks whatsoever. Just want to throw that out. These are not our picks whatsoever yet. So there's a long ways to go between now and then. We have a show in between. We have another show in between this. So
yeah, we've got a lot to
swing back to the other teams. So we shall see. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, from our last show through the weekend up until, this afternoon, a bevy of coaches have found new positions in the National Football League, which has included, of course, one of the more coveted positions with the Buffalo Bills, hiring from within as they promoted offensive coordinator Joe Brady. He is now going to be the head coach on a 5-year deal for them. And also over the weekend, there was the Pittsburgh Steelers bringing back one of their own, a local boy, Mike McCarthy, former Cowboys and former Green Bay Packers head coach. He is now going to be the head coach for the Steelers. The Ravens signed Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minter, who did come up through the Ravens system before going to Michigan with another Harbaugh brother to be the head coach now, as the Ravens got Jesse Minter. And then earlier today, the Browns went and got Todd Monken, the former offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, to be their head coach. So Monken now as the head coach for the Cleveland Browns. Now, of course, the more prized position of these coaching openings going to the Buffalo Bills, and Joe Brady staying home and being head coach there is a very interesting way to get your new head coach. But of these positions that have been filled with the Bills, the Browns, the Ravens, and the Steelers, who is more likely to have success in their first season from these hirings just from the last week in the cycle?
Well, I feel like the name that sticks out to me the most is Joe Brady. And the reason why I say that is because I know, hiring from within can be beneficial, and sometimes it doesn't work out as well as you think. I think Leslie Frazier was kind of in that situation with the Vikings after Childress and whatnot, but he was interim, did fairly well, and then it just kind of didn't go well the next few years. But the the Bills. The Bills, I think, are well set up. You have Josh Allen. You have the new stadium coming in to effect as well. And also, how badly it hurt the Bills players and fans and everything like that on how they lost that game against Denver. I think they're going to be more motivated, and that they promoted Joe Brady to head coach, I think shows like, hey, like, you know, we're going to trust in what he's going to do. But, you know, the whole Keon Coleman thing, I almost feel like he needs to maybe address that a little bit, just because I feel like the owner just really wasn't thinking in that moment, to be quite honest with you. But I would say Joe Brady. The next guy that I would say probably be the next one would be Jesse Minter. You know, I think he's done a really good job with the Chargers defense these past few years, especially when Harbaugh was in Michigan and how good that defense was when he was there. And now you go to the Ravens, which, you know, kind of were up and down defensively. Lamar had his injuries, and the offense didn't. So who are they going to bring in as OC and everything like that? So I'd probably say Jesse Minter. The next one would probably be Mike McCarthy. I think he's, you know, motivated because this is his, you know, hometown. His team means everything to him. It was really, you know, it showed a lot. Like, he, you know, he really deeply cares about the Steelers and whatnot, and it showed in his press conference. Like, this was his dream job, is to, you know, coach his hometown team. The last one is Todd Monken. I mean, I was kind of shocked. I didn't even know he was interviewing for the job. I saw all who they were interviewing, but, you know, the Browns are going to Brown. And they really did. I don't know how this is going to work, but I could be proven wrong. But I don't like, especially when Jim Schwartz was not happy when they said that, you know, we're going to go with Todd Monken. He was visibly upset.
Yeah.
He's still under contract. And, yeah, I don't know. They got to figure that out, because
That's crazy.
Not going well in Cleveland. So, yeah, I'd probably say Joe Brady would be my top one. So, Volby, what do you got?
Yeah, just quickly on the Browns there. I don't understand how you don't give Jim Schwartz a serious look.
Right.
Yes, he was a head coach. He was a head coach in Detroit previously, taking over for a winless team and trying to build from that point. But, you know, combination of that and also a couple of bad draft classes too, you can't fault him for having a not so great winning record in his time in Detroit. Really rebuilt himself with Jim, you know, with defensively being a coordinator in Philly, then ultimately going to, you know, obviously Cleveland, where they have made defense kind of their bread and butter as of late. Still don't understand why you don't and give him another serious look if you wanted the job in the first place too. But of these openings that have really kind of stepped up and made things, you know, make things a little bit better going to next season, definitely the Bills is at the higher end of the list. You want to keep things as comfortable and not a lot of changeover for Josh Allen and that offense. I think now you're in a situation you're looking for more pieces, you know, just based off of the lack of depth at the wide receiver position. You've got a running game. You've got some tight ends you can work with. Now it's just finding receivers that he can trust and build camaraderie with. I think for Keon Coleman especially, he needs to put up or shut up at this point, because, you know, the dumb kid act is not going to get you very much farther for much longer as well. Need to start showing up to meetings on time. The next one, I definitely say the Steelers for sure. I think just in the history alone with, you know, their head coaches all been defensive minded head coaches, with Chuck Noll, with Bill Cowher, with Mike Tomlin. Now we flip the script and try to go an offensive minded head coach, maybe drag back Aaron Rodgers for another season in Pittsburgh. We'd have to see, but he's definitely, he has that pride and knowledge of obviously what the city of Pittsburgh wants and needs. And he has definitely been a very savvy head coach. Of course, his time in Green Bay and of course in Dallas as well. Postseason success in Dallas, not so much, but I heard a very interesting thing with McCarthy in the time that he was in Dallas. There had been 30 years, of course, since the Cowboys won the Super Bowl, and they've had 6 seasons where they've had 12 wins on the year. 3 of those 6 seasons were under Mike McCarthy. So the guy is definitely a noted winner for sure, hoping that he can bring that kind of that much needed edge to his hometown and of course in the Steel City. But I think Bills for sure, then following through with the Steelers definitely, and then the Browns. I mean, again, like I had said, I don't know why you don't give Schwartz a good look, but very interesting for Jesse Minter to get a head coaching job basically 2 years after being in college at the college level and now being a head coach. He's not unfamiliar with Baltimore, of course, coming up through the ranks there with the Ravens staff. So that'll be a very interesting one there. The AFC North is going to be very, very interesting for next season with all these new head coaches.
One thing I want to add to the Steelers one with McCarthy, if they're going to bring back the fraud Aaron Rodgers, I feel like time kind of heals all wounds. It sounded like things didn't end well in Green Bay between the two of them, I feel like.
Right.
And, I think that time apart really kind of, can bring you back to some things. And it's leaning more towards he's probably coming back one more season because he can't keep, coming back and you expect him to be back just because McCarthy's back. I wouldn't be shocked he goes back to the Steelers. And don't even mention the other team. I'm just going to say it right now. Don't you say
Please
it.
don't. Don't.
So, yeah. Anyway, next one, Voldy.
Well, heading to the world of the NBA, the two-time MVP and former NBA champion Giannis Antetokounmpo is saying that he is ready for a new home as we are just over a week away from the February 5th trade deadline in the NBA, and teams are coming out saying that they are very interested in the Greek Freaks services in their city and for their franchises. Of the notable suitors that are in strong contention do include the Miami Heat, the New York Knicks, the Golden State Warriors, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Of course, the franchises that are looking to make a name and, of course, look for some potential in acquiring the Greek Freak for their services do have to come with a whole lot of caveats. Now, currently, Antetokounmpo will become eligible to sign a 4-year, $275 million Supermax contract extension coming up in October.
Great cash, homie.
Without the extension, he would become an unrestricted free agent in the 2027 offseason after by declining a $62.8 million player option in that summer. Now, of course, with all that thrown into the mix, and of course with the unfortunate way that the former NBA champions time in Milwaukee has come to a bit of a sudden stop in multiple respects with just the lack of continuity, head coaching changes, lack of effort to bring in other players to help out Antetokounmpo. There are a lot of things to take in consideration to quite possibly seeing where he could end up this time next week. Now, is it absurd or approved with everything that is going on with Giannis and in Milwaukee? Will Giannis be moved by the February 5th deadline? If so, where will he end up?
I have one thing to say, and I'm going to let someone else do the talking for me here.
Bring your ass.
Bring your ass, Giannis. Bring it on over to those Minnesota Timberwolves. Look, now, I know you're probably thinking, you have to give up a lot. Yeah, we would have to give up a lot. But the only thing I ask is you don't trade our tribal chief.
I hate to say it, but it's gonna have.
No.
You want Giannis? Do you want Nas? That's what it's gonna boil down to. If you can find a way to keep Nas and get Giannis, you're gonna have to levy the whole farm. I feel like you're gonna have to give up everybody else at that point.
Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, maybe some other guys as well. But tribal chief, Nas Reed. Even if that happens, he's still a tribal chief. He's still a tribal chief. I still love Nas Reed.
Tribal chief.
Just somehow make it work, Conley. Anyway, but I think he's going to get moved for sure by the deadline. Look, he's not going to wait till the end of the season. Like, he wants to get the hell out of there. He's done with this nonsense. All these reports have been, I mean, it's a tall tale sign. He's done. He doesn't want to be in Milwaukee, and they want to try and get as much as they can for him, but the price has been a little too steep. Like the Knicks, for instance, thought that what they would want for Giannis would be too much. But the one team that I think I'd be kind of keeping an eye on here is the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors, I feel like, are going to have more ammunition to trade picks, give up probably Jimmy Buckets, as well as Kuminga. I know that he's injured. I guess that he can still be traded, even if he's injured, I would assume. Or I'm not sure how that works, but I would assume so. Yeah. So let's. So we're at February. So deadline's February 5th. It's coming up pretty quick. So if the Wolves were going to make this happen, you have to get this done somewhat quick, and you're gonna have to decide whether or not you're going to sell a good chunk of the farm. To be quite honest with you. And if I'm the Wolves, I would try to make that happen as best I can. Look, they would have not even considered it if it was Glenn Taylor at the helm of ownership right now. But with A-Rod and Laurie, they are probably like, you guys, we'll do whatever we can to make sure Giannis is, a Minnesota Timberwolf. If they make this happen, Voldy, if they make this happen, I expect a championship, an NBA Finals chip here in Minnesota.
I like
if Giannis comes here. I expect it within at least 1 to 2 years. 1 to 2 years. I think that's fair. Even if he's traded here right away or, soon, I wouldn't expect that. Like, I'm not going to have expectations of them winning it, but if they do, oh my God, that'd be insane. But, if they make the move for Giannis. But I'm going to say, if it's not the Wolves, I'm going to say Golden State. I just think, they're going to have a lot of ammunition. They want to get another ring for Steph before he goes, especially when that clown Draymond himself goes too. So, I'll go with the Warriors. But I'm just saying, these talks have been heating up all day today with the Wolves. Just keep an eye on it. That's all I'm saying. So, Voldy, what do you think?
I mean, I definitely see it. It could be definitely one of two teams. I definitely see the Warriors being one in the mix that are definitely going to push all their chips in to get a guy like Giannis to maybe make one more serious run at a title before everybody retires and or moves on to greener pastures with Draymond, with of course with Steph Curry, I should say, and maybe they retire or maybe get traded elsewhere before all the BS hits the fan in that regard. But I can also see the Timberwolves being a team that definitely pushes their chips in and say, look, we're sick and tired of making it to the conference finals and getting dusted one way or another. We need to get over the hump and we need to win a championship and make some serious noise that we are contenders. And getting a guy like Giannis who could definitely revitalize himself and get that fresh start for him is sorely needed. And it's amazing to see how a team like Milwaukee, and also not surprising that we're only 4 years removed from them winning the NBA championship. Now, of course, there are a lot of things that went right that season for them. They had a whole caveat of role guys that really all came together. But beyond that, I mean, 4 years later, they've had as many head coaches as seasons that have gone by since winning the championship. And it's just crazy to see the downfall of that team since Giannis came in the league, and they had at one point the best record in the league, just from the play that they've had. But between those two teams, between the Warriors and of course the Timberwolves, man, it's going to be tough to turn down either franchise, especially when they have been noted to make these deep playoff runs, especially for the Timberwolves as of late, that have gone to back Western Conference finals, and just looking for any way to get over that hump. And adding a guy like Giannis would be that needed piece to, get them over that edge.
Voldy, just for the sake, in case something happens from a week from now, one more time, acknowledge our tribal chief, Naz Reid, just in case, there's something more.
Just in case.
So, shout out to him.
Sending out good vibes.
So, real quick, would you be okay with them trading for Giannis?
I would be okay with it.
Okay.
I would be okay with it.
I would.
But I also like having Naz Reid. That's
right. That's right. Me too.
That's our guy. That's our tribal chief.
That is our tribal chief. That's our tribal chief. So, all right. Next one, or last one, Voldy.
Well, we head to the world of the PGA Tour, and two golfers that made the jump to the formed Live Golf circuit a number of years back are coming back for the much needed return to the PGA Tour, as announced here a couple of times. Of course, just over a week ago, Brookskoepka was freed from his final year of his contract with the Saudi-funded Live Golf Tour and was also making his way back to the PGA Tour, but also announced earlier this week that former champion Patrick Reed is leaving the Live Golf League and plans to return later this season on the PGA Tour. Now, of course, winning the 2018 Masters, Patrick Reed did before he resigned from the PGA Tour to join the Live Golf League back in 2022. Of course, Brookskoepka, a couple of notable wins for his time on the PGA circuit, is now back after, of course, his time over in the Live Golf Tour. Now, of course, this has been a very interesting and touchy subject as well, especially with everybody that picked one side or the other, going to the Live Tour, playing less tournaments, getting more money, while on the other side, the PGA standing pat, saying that they weren't going to be messing around, and those that participate in the Live Tour would be ineligible from certain events like the Masters, yada, 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 things of that sort. Well, now things have gotten a little bit more interesting, of course, with conversations previously talking about Live, the DP World Tour, and the PGA all merging into one. And now we've got golfers jumping ship from one league to the next. Now, with notable names like Brookskoepka and Patrick Reed going from Live back to the PGA, is it absurd or approved? Will more golfers follow suit and make their way back to the PGA Tour?
Well, I'm going to do a Marvel reference here, just because this kind of is making sense. At the end of so spoiler alert for people that haven't seen Avengers and everything like that. At the end of Infinity War, half of the universe of living beings gets wiped out. 5 years go by, yada yada yada. Thanos wins. To make a long story short, the Avengers, go back in time, whatnot, get the stones back, try to bring everybody back. There's a scene where Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor are about to face off against Thanos. Thanos is sitting there with his double-bladed sword right next to him, and he says, "You could not live with your own failure. And where did that bring you? Back to me." That's exactly what the PGA is. PGA is Thanos right now, and Brookskoepka and Patrick Reed are the Avengers trying to, say, "Oh, I'm sorry, we goofed up and everything like that."
Right.
So I think that's a good comparison. But to be quite honest, yes, more are going to follow suit. Like it's got my stamp of approval. This whole Live thing was ridiculous in itself. The thought that they could do better than the PGA, and ultimately now the PGA and Live Golf forming together, weird things are happening. But they left for the money, and now they're crawling right back to the PGA. Look, you can't overthrow an established league like the Pro Golfers Association. Like, there's no freaking way that you're going to overthrow that by doing live golf, because no one gives a crap about live golf. I'm sorry, nobody cares. So I think at this point there's going to be even more golfers coming back and saying, all right, I had my fun with live golf. I'll go back and try to win a Masters or, whatever and whatnot. It just shows like how big of a failure this all has been with live golf, and,
right?
What they were trying to do and whatnot, and it's just it turned out to be an absolute joke. So, to answer your question, stamp of approval. There's going to be more golfers that'll be coming back to the PGA. So I'll give them my stamp of approval. They are coming back with their tails between their legs. Well, I'm sorry, I'll come back. Fully. What do you think?
I mean, I definitely don't see any other way that more golfers don't come back to the PGA Tour. Now it's going to be a question of when some more bigger names come through. Will a guy like Bryson DeChambeau, I believe he's still on the LIV Tour, but has been on a couple of PGA events in the past, and of course participating in the Ryder Cup. How much longer would it take for a guy like that to say, all right, I've had enough, let's go back to where it all started? Of course, now he's more considered, of course, being a YouTube golfer than an actual PGA golfer too. So maybe he'll just be content with, making his own little side hustle, his full-time gig. I'm not surprised by it. Of course, you have your fun, you make your money, and then ultimately, okay, let's get back to real business and real tradition as well, as opposed to, just some of these made up tournaments and just, doing this for a much smaller and shorter schedule. Not surprised by any of it. I could definitely see more golfers jumping back and just getting back into the flow of things with the way that the golf should be, and that being on the PGA Tour, definitely.
I almost want the PGA to be like, told you what would happen. So, all right, great job with ARA this week, Voldy, as always. And we got some Shield shoutouts to get to tonight, so let's get it going with some shoutouts.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, it is time for Shield shoutouts. So, Shield, who ya shout out today?
Well, do have to give shout out, of course, to Ty Smith of the Granite City Lumberjacks, of course, who did open up the scoring in the Outdoor Classic with the NA3HL against the Rochester Grizzlies on Hockey Day, Minnesota, down in Hastings this past Friday. But Ty did also accomplish something over the weekend, reaching 100 career points in the NA3HL, becoming the fastest player in the franchise history of the Granite City Lumberjacks to reach the century mark, and just the 8th player in franchise history in 19 seasons that the Lumberjacks have been around. So Ty has reached that mark and still has plenty more in store with about 14 games left in the regular season. That's going to do it for Shield shoutouts this week.
Yes, congratulations to Granite City Lumberjacks winning on
Yes,
Hockey
sir.
Day. I got my tumbler with me that I'm really liking this tumbler, by the way. I just got to say, Voldy, really nice tumbler. Use it almost every show now, I feel like. So that's why we got it. But great job. Shield shout-outs this time around. Voldy, congrats.
Thanks, sir.
You guys know the deal. We got merch, but remember, Super Bowl show is not this weekend, but the weekend after. So we'll have that. You guys can chime in. We'll do our kind of a same old thing. Maybe at some people that are interested and hopping on with us for a little bit. So we will talk with some people and get that going for you. But like I said, we got merch. We got sweatpants. Cassie, we're getting her stuff together. She has picked out what she wants from us. But we got sweatpants. We got shirts. We got stickers. Oh, my God. We have how many hats? I don't even know because we have so many hats.
So many.
We got plenty of hats, as you can take a look there. the Minnesota Vikings colors. There's another version of it with a different type of logo and whatnot. But then you got the Wolves, obviously, if Giannis comes by. Maybe Giannis wants a hat when he gets here to Minnesota. That'd be nice. We'll see. Minnesota Twins, if you're just like, well, I'll try to support them. Or it could be Granite City Lumberjacks. You never know. By the way, jerseys look great, too, Voldy. Really liked how they looked. They're sick. So make sure you check out all our merch. We got plenty of merch that we can send your way. And thank you to National Fleet Graphics, all right, for the stickers and everything like that. And shout out to W2 Performance, our guy, Will Rattel, www.w2performance.com. Make sure you check him out on the social medias, posting daily videos and everything like that. The dude's ripped out of his mind. So if you want to get ripped like him, listen to him. The Brotherly Ballers podcast with Tyler Hermann and Jack Vickers. Make sure you check those guys out. TLS Performance, our guy, Troy Stoudemire Jr. Speaking of jacked and well-built, Troy Stoudemire Jr. I'm just saying, if the Vikings just want to make that call, I think he'll be ready. I'm just letting you guys know right now. Popcorn Bucket List, our guy, Nick Dahlhoff, and Ryne Myhrberg as well. Omni Entertainment. They've got all new episodes hopping out, especially with their picks for 2025, the Oscars coming up here. So make sure you check out those guys on the socials. So, yeah. That's what we got. That's going to do it for the first episode of Season 7 of MinneZona Sports Life, episode 270. And again, guys, thank you again for support. Congrats to all our winners, too. Double Trouble, winning Best Guess, four-time champions. And shout out to Mikey for winning Most Absurd Statement. It was close. It was close. Yes. F you to the poll ads for winning Clowns of the Year. That's really good. And shout out to the Wolves winning Best Minnesota Team. So, with that being said, that's going to do it. So, without further ado, as always, remember, folks, keep in zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.